Okay, we are live. Hey, everybody, welcome to Lit Crawl. This is the last night of Lit Quake, our annual 10-day literary festival. Thank you for staying home and joining us. That's really weird to say, but that's what we have to do this year. It's been a crazy, weird 10 days, and it's been an amazing day. This is like our 11th hour of Lit Crawl today. What better way to like almost finish it than with Red Light Lit? I'm super excited about this. Just a quick housekeeping item or two before we get started here. Again, thanks everybody for joining us. Lit Quake is a nonprofit. Almost 100% of the festival is free to our audiences every year, not just online. So if there's anybody out there that's watching that has the ability to make even a small donation, it helps us. It will hopefully help us return to the real world next year and bring this festival to live audiences again. So if you get a chance, Venmo at Litquake, PayPal, info@litquake.org, or just go to our website, litquake.org. And one more thing before we get started, after the event, you'll have a short survey pop up on your screen. Please fill it out. It helps tremendously with our grants and our fundraising. And now let's get started with Red Light Lit. Jennifer Lewis.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone. Welcome to Red Light Lit. I'm Jennifer Lewis. I'm the editor and curator of tonight's show. If you're unfamiliar with us, Red Light Lit is a small press and reading series that explores love relationships, sexuality, and gender. Tonight, we have an incredible show for you featuring Gray Rosado, Peter Bolin, Danny Burleson, Tomas Manez, and Luna Malbro. You can find more information about the readers at Red Light Lit on Instagram. And now I'm honored to introduce our first reader, Gray Rosado. Woo-hoo.
Wouldn't be a Zoom call if we didn't do that. Before the sun sets, I need to remind you, the sea glass of your irises is a color I can't stand anymore. Before we lose any more daylight, this folded parchment bound frayed in twine was for you, but not if I swallow it first. Before it turns cold, one last amber summer, if I keep chasing the horizon, maybe I can outrun dusk and the end of this day. Before the announcement of the first star, I refuse to shiver. I'll light myself on fire. Before you go, tell me if you knew it was because I was pushing you away. Before you turn your back on this empty cup, departing to unfriendly mountains, split by cold water.
Sometimes you seem to know where my pajamas are. Other times you don't know. Almost all the time I am unclear as to where they are. When I have them on, everything is very obvious. Fantastic, I say, these are my pajamas. And you always agree, which I appreciate. Not all agreement is as satisfactory as this. For instance, I remember agreeing to go for a walk with you, which right away meant I would be changing out of my pajamas. Do you remember that? And I did. I changed out of them. I remember thinking at the time, I might regret it. I didn't raise my concern when you called to ask about the walk. Instead, I pictured your mouth talking into the phone. I wasn't sure I had the size of your lips right, but I knew whatever size they were, they balanced out your face so beautifully. You know I like your face. I look at your face and I see someone who sometimes knows where my pajamas are. It's uncanny. I feel like your knowledgeable nature, and your well-balanced face got me out of my pajamas and on my way to our walk. In my mind, I put the proposed walk under the heading of affection with a capital A. I did that because it was a heading I felt possessed a sort of confidence, typological boldness, something like certainty. But I was nervous going to see you for the walk. There was a small distance to travel, for one thing. You were a little late, you are always a little late, but somehow I know you are coming. That's the best part about you being a little late, my certainty that you will arrive. When you arrived, you had a puppy on a long red leash. Many people with dogs were talking to you, even though you were there to go for a walk with me. I wished right then I was home in my pajamas and you were about to call with your voice and suggest an activity that wasn't a walk with a puppy. In fact, I would have been happy with no suggestion at all in terms of an activity. Activity is overrated, and also you get tired afterwards. You could even have talked about your puppy. I'd rather you talked into the phone about your puppy while I wondered about the size of your lips than have gotten roped into that walk. But I got roped into the walk. Anyone who cared to look could see that. Probably very few people cared to look. We walked up a small hill, didn't we? Everywhere there were people with dogs. Both the people with dogs and the dogs themselves seemed happy to see each other. This must be normal, I thought. Eventually we came upon a clearing, which sounds like something you'd read in an adventure book. Anyway, I'm not sure it was a clearing, but it was certainly a stretch that was free of people with dogs. That might have been a comfort if I hadn't by then already given up on affection. Affection is funny. It has so many interruptions. When the interruptions take over the way they can around many people with dogs and that sort of thing, I just want to throw in the towel. I want to ask myself some serious questions, like what is it I really want from this life? And whatever it is, can it be accomplished in pajamas?
It's kind of weird looking straight in his face.
This is for Ryder. It always feels like slow motion. And not because I'm moving slowly. Part of it is student brain reciting a principle. The other, I'm enjoying myself. It's my first committed step in this direction, oft admired, only recently interested. I am determined to move like I'm painting along the skin. I don't want sudden stops unless I'm the one holding time. For once, I'm keeping a careful eye on loose ends. And I want to notice you. Your chills, your purrs, put a pin, keep going. I want to keep the line taut, so you never forget who's got you.
Oh.
It feels like slow motion.
When your 50-year-old boyfriend leaves you for a millennial right before a global pandemic, it's a bit tricky to go out and have the rebound sex you really, really deserve. Tricky, but not entirely impossible. First, before shelter-in-place orders come down, you might meet a nice guy one county over, go out a few times. He seems decent, but needs you to be more nurturing, more accommodating, more attentive, more available, more giving. You went through this kind of emotional siphoning with the last guy and it ended terribly. Also, he baby talks. You call things off and move on. Then there's a woman you went out with a few years ago, blonde, cute, so very wine country, and she's kind of new to understanding classism and racism and fighting the patriarchy, but assumes she knows it all. She comes for tea during quarantine, but rolls her eyes with pretension, mansplains social justice, talks so much, condescends you for getting tear gas at a protest, thinks you must have done something to deserve it. You stand in your garden, watching her blab her pacifist self-righteousness until you don't want to look at her mouth anymore. Don't want it on your neck, don't want to kiss it. You just imagine her mouth closed and covered with a mask. So you send her away and head back inside to your cats in your Emma Goldman documentary. You might also meet another guy who seems acceptable for a fling. You have mutual friends on Facebook, so you assume he won't murder you. He also lives alone, gets tested regularly, so you agree to meet him on his front porch, 6 feet apart, for a glass of wine. He drinks a couple bottles, reveals he's in some kind of cult situation, gulps down more wine, and then tells you he lost his therapist license for something that landed him in prison. He slurs, says he feels a deep connection with you, leans too close, only 3 feet away, wobbles, asks if he can kiss you. You leave. There are other situations too, including some with old lovers, and they all blend together into the endless mass days of quarantine that become longer and shorter at the same time. The weeks and months that tick by become increasingly isolating. Your youngest child moves away. You buy chickens, foster some cats, research the cost of goats, think of getting one for your backyard. You look into the empty bedrooms where your kids used to sleep and hear a faint echo of the life you used to have, of the person you used to be. You pace around your empty nest, trapped indoors by the smoke that bears down, turns the sky gray and then red and then gray again. Your phone is filled with a sporadic stream of evacuation orders. You download the Calm app so you can listen to Harry Styles while you go to sleep. One thing you do look forward to each night are texts from a cute young poet in Arizona. You count the weeks until he drives through the desert and across California's drought-stricken hillsides and fires to visit you. Then his trip is postponed. You wonder if you'll ever fall in love again, or at least have really good sex again. You wonder if you'll meet anyone worth pulling your mask down for, worth risking COVID-related organ failure for. You fantasize about holding up for the winter, for a sex buddy during the election, an evacuation mate for the next fire, for someone to move toward the after with. You long for someone to make breakfast, to wash the dishes, to invite into your bed. Someone who won't be wasted or mansplaining or in a cult. You wonder why you even care when there's a revolution outside your doors, but your antidepressants are making you horny. You start sleeping naked again, swiping left on endless potential matches, looking for firefighters on Tinder. You burn through packs of batteries, order new vibrators online. You remember how this empty nest time is when you hope to fuck your way across Europe like the young wild thing that you no longer really are. You paint your room, buy 20 more houseplants, put on Leonard Cohen and stand in front of the mirror, slowly strip down from your dress, unhook your bra, pull down your panties. You run your hands across the tiny scars on your abdomen, right over the place where your uterus used to be. You cup your breasts, and actually at 46 years old, you finally really like them. These are quite nice, you say to yourself. Your ass has changed over the years, your neck is showing your age. You feel 50 years older than you did in March. But you open your mouth, craving those long, deep kisses, the hot kind with your mouth sighing and moaning, filling with the warm breath and droplets and the tongue of an eager, skilled lover. You stop the fantasy for a moment, light a candle and get super dramatic. Angle yourself just right and gaze over your naked body again. I'll fuck you, you whisper to the mirror. You're definitely worth pulling a mask down for. Thank you. Oof.
left my love on the dance floor. Disco flecks in their eyes, bass in their shoes. I left my love at an outdoor table of a hip restaurant because they weren't my type. I left my love at a beach house after making love in the sand. I left my love on the hook, both fishing lure and a landline phone. I left my love in the ruins, crumbled plaster, mascara tears. I left my love in New Jersey, but I left everything in New Jersey. I left my love in Los Angeles, but I left nothing in Los Angeles. I left my love in Boston, which I miss more than the youth it cost me. I left my love in a cage until I knew better. I left my love in a room with a trap door. I left my love in my favorite sweatshirt. I know you have it, just give it back.
You don't want it to be a Tomas's wild thing. No, okay.
I left my love in the snow, even though I'm so attracted to cold shoulders. I left my love, my love, my love, my love in the desert. There were 5 of us. You see, I left my love fettered to train tracks I couldn't untie. I left my love in the tunnel of a makeout ride at a filthy carnival that reeked of funnel cake, grease, and chewed tobacco. I left my love hiding inside a circular clothing rack at a thrift store. I left my love circling the block because if they couldn't find parking, I didn't care if they couldn't come up to see me. I left my love circling overhead, at peace with them pecking my flesh. I left my love in a haunted arboretum, decaying orchids and cobwebbed ferns. I left my love in a pizza parlor because they pulled the cheese off their slice. I left my love in a martini because I asked for no olives. I left my love in the left breast pocket of a flannel button-up because they were exhausted from whispering in my ear all day. I left my love on a porch swing, creaks ringing in my ears. I left my love in tears, on the dance floor, disco flecks in their eyes, bass in their shoes.
All right, this is called Masks On, Pants Off, or Stand on 12, Hit on 16. The thing is, how come I want to do all these social activities mid-pandemic that before I was like, nah, I'd rather just chill in my apartment. I mean, dancing on a Wednesday night might definitely be fulfilling, but now it takes on the aura of spiritual communion. So these last few months in quarantine have been a reckoning of sorts. I just couldn't pretend that I wasn't desperately lonely. So I did 2 things. 1, play FaceTime blackjack with my brother in Los Angeles, which resulted in a number of hangovers and a stiff debt owed, but I did cherish those Tuesday and Thursday interactions, even longed for that Zoom ping notifying me he had entered my waiting room. 2, create a profile on every dating site, which resulted in a number of shockingly immediate, humorous, but explicitly platonic email exchanges. Each one had its own rhythm and expectations, so it felt like I had to balance all of these relationship demands. I even made a Google spreadsheet to keep track. All this responsibility satisfied deeply until Austin. On their 5th text message, they said, listen, it seems like we're both craving the same thing. We've both been recently tested. You want to meet up? I was a bit apprehensive, but of course I agreed. The night before our date, I dreamed bodies and smell. I dreamed of leaning into their neck and sniffing. I imagined raising their arms and breathing in their scent. I imagined unzipping their pants and just inhaling them into me. I also dreamed of blackjack, of cards sliding across a verdant green felt table and me knocking twice, demanding, hit me, with a smile. Clearly, being the instigator was their thing, because after one to-go beer and a walk around the empty streets of downtown Berkeley, they said, "So, I'm game if you are." This was my moment, I thought. I stared at them, masked, bedazzled with a sparkling "all cops are bastards," a sleeveless black concert shirt, shoulders bare, armpit hair just visible at the creases of shoulder and torso, a denim skirt, black yoga pants. I stepped to them, pulling my mask down below my nose, ready to breathe them in. They stepped back. No touching. "But let's drive into the Kittredge parking garage." As I pulled up to their pale blue Subaru, I revved my Accord, a satisfying purr. I saw their car had a kid's seat in the back. The self-automated garage had a good number of cars on level 1 and 2, but level 3 had just a smattering, enough cars for us not to look too suspicious. They raced ahead to a corner parking spot and backed into it, waving for me to do the same, shouting out their window to leave 6 feet distance between. We killed our engines, got out, stood apart. I waited. They pressed their legs together and slid down their yoga pants. The first and only time they touched me, when they reached out to find balance as each foot pulled free. They said, "Get in your back seat and keep the window down, but crack it, or keep the window up, but crack it so you can hear me." They pulled their skirt up and slipped down underwear, nothing fancy, a purple cotton thing, but I stared like they were lacy and all for me. They balled them up and tossed them into their back seat. I watched it land perfectly in the child car seat. They growled, "Go!" And I went. I got in my back seat and turned to face them. I cracked the window and they slipped off the elastic around one ear. It was the sexiest thing I'd seen, masks dangling, their mouths full lips and teeth all white and square. They said, "Lean back and spread your legs for me. I want to see everything." I smiled and kind of shrugged like, "Okay, do it," they demanded, like they weren't even playing. I laid back and I realized that my dome light was on, and I worried for a second about my battery, but I realized I had my jumper cables, so I yanked off my pants. I placed my feet on the edges of the window. I spread myself open. I felt vulnerable and on display, like being inspected for approval. I felt proud. My body felt new. The soft fur of my ass cheeks, the way they curved into the center of me, the thrum of my cock pulsing and filling out, the way my balls nestled and fit so perfectly. I heard a loud huffing and I realized they were coming. I sat up to watch and they leaned back against their car. I saw their pubic hair untrimmed and full. I saw the slow way they stroked themselves. They finished and pushed down their skirt and slipped on their mask. And I said, "Wait, give me your hand, please." They stepped to the window and 3 delicate fingers slid into my car. I moved to face them quickly, right in front of them, and I sniffed like the scent could save my life. I closed my eyes in appreciation. I then heard the car start and the squeal of rubber on painted cement as they drove off. No matter, I thought. That night, I played blackjack with my brother, and I won hand after hand, hitting confidently on 16 and never busting when I hit on 12. I found my way to 20 or 21 almost every time. My brother said, "Damn, what happened to you?" I said, "I guess I'm feeling lucky and not so alone." Thank you.
Hearts are like Kleenex, freely given, easily disposed. Hearts are like flowers, powerful blooms, rotted loss. Hearts are like candles, Fiery, extinguished. Hearts are like hard candy. Savor the flavor, bite to the core. Hearts are like wars. Hard fought, at times lethal. Hearts are like wool. Itchy, warm. Hearts are like stars. What you see is an echo of something long dead.
Mm-hmm.
Hearts are like satellites, orbiting, colliding, throwing you completely off course. Hearts are like diamonds. Pressure makes them resilient. Hearts are like that endless scarf magician's trick. It's dazzling the first time. The second time, meh. Hearts are like boots, worn and traveled. Hearts are like soil, nourishing until parched. Hearts are like fiberglass, strong as a pain, fatal if shattered. No. Hearts are like gymnasts, surprisingly spry, great rebound, even if you don't always stick the landing.
Part 1. Wars don't start overnight. It begins with an escalation of devastation. Bullet spraying. March 13th, Breonna Taylor was shot dead in her home in the middle of the night. Normalcy ending. March 16th, Governor DeWine calls for the shutdown of Ohio. Coronavirus has arrived. Bombs going off. March 20th, she tells me that she wants a divorce. And all of a sudden, your home becomes a battlefield, the world around you riddled with landmines, and the civilian becomes a soldier. No one recruited you. It wasn't voluntary. You're fighting to survive. Overnight, the new soldier finds herself amidst chaos, alone. And when you're at war, every aspect of the world is dangerous. There is no peace when everything can be life-threatening. This is 2020. Encountering armed militia and an innocent walk around the neighborhood, chemical warfare and unclean surfaces, and unworn masks at a grocery store, the psychological warfare of not being able to hug a friend. Anything could kill you, it seems, and everything is trying to. And what does one do at war? Everyone handles it differently. One can try to hide, barricade themselves in, and try to wait things out. One can form alliances, aka quarantine pods, to train and strategize with. And then there's the rare warrior who thrives, coming alive to the chaos. They see the world around them in some ways as a truer version of the way the world has always been. Safety was always an illusion. Security was always a lie. Adaptation is the only way forward. This was me, cackling maniacally in my home as the cracks in the foundation began to crumble around me. I didn't blink from the undeniable sight of the institutions surrounding me: marriage, employment, our economy, education, our future, crumbling. These words lost meaning, including the charades of respectability. Suddenly I was free from the role of pretending that everything was fine in the first place, free from subduing my primal, truest nature to fit into the lies of respectability. No one is respectable now. We've all been saved from the lie that we were able to control anything in the first place. And all of this is quite a poetic way for me to explain my line of reasoning that if a handshake can kill me, if police are busting in doors and killing Black women in their sleep, then why not hop on a few more dicks? This is what led me to the newest period of my life, in which I currently refer to as COVID. What could be a nobler cause than to find glory and destruction, to immortalize myself in joy as the world tries to burn around me? Let it try to fucking take me. I will remain victorious, shrouded in the armor of a woman newly unleashed. Now, the infantry soldier does not become a general overnight. It takes time, skill, aptitude, and practice to rise through the ranks. In lieu of basic training, I jumped right into the line of fire with my first virtual sex party in April. What futurist could have predicted years ago that the height of our technological advancement in 2020 would be the ability to have orgies via Zoom? My mission was simple: to arouse and delight as many eyes as possible using food items we had available in our home. A month before, I would have been watching Netflix with my wife in our den, and now here I was, shucking corn erotically with my titties out on a grainy webcam. Now, I've often wondered, what would I be doing if I was in those momentous occasions we've heard about in our history books? Well, I know exactly what I'd be doing now if I was on the Titanic. I'd be in the band, playing us all out, squeezing every second of life I had onto my instrument as the ship went down, giving myself and a few others a few more moments of pleasure. In the tumultuous civil rights era, I had previously imagined myself marching down the Selma, but now I think I would have been finding my freedom on my knees in front of Jimi Hendrix. And now, when my grandkids ask to see photos of what life was like in 2020, all I'll mostly have to show is the series of sexy nudes that I commissioned my comrade, Gabby, to take to begin my entry into online dating. You see, my pussy is the boldest warriors surviving death-defying odds just to continue to self-actualize. My pussy is Toussaint Louverture. My pussy's Mandingo. My pussy is Nat Turner, staring at my mortality and white supremacy right in the face with the boldness and daring that they will write about for 1,000 years to come. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Luna. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lit Crawl. This has been Red Light Lit. I'm going to give it back to Greg in 1 second. I'm just going to say, if you do want to find out more about the readers, please visit at Red Light Lit on Instagram.
All right. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you to Red Light Lit and all the readers tonight for that amazing event and almost grand finale of our festival. And thanks to our audience for joining us. We hope to see you all in person next year.